Hi, Deesha.
Hey, Dawnie.
And welcome, everyone, to Ursa Short Fiction, the podcast where we geek out on our favorite short stories. I'm Dawnie Walton, author of the final revival of Opal and Nev.
And I'm Deesha Philyaw, author of The Secret Lives of Church Ladies. As always, this show is produced with support from you. Become an Ursa member today by going to ursastory.com/join. You'll get exclusive bonus episodes and you'll help fund future stories and conversations. Today, we're excited to share another Ursa story production. It's called Snowbath Season, written by Stacie Denetsosie and featured in her 2023 debut collection, The Missing Morning Star and Other Stories, published by Torrey House Press.
So this story, which I absolutely love, was sent to us during our first submission period. It's about a woman who discovers that her mother is communicating with her through, of all things, an Amazon Alexa device. They're trying to reconnect with each other, to say goodbye, and to do a final snow bath, which is a Navajo tradition that her mother believes will give Diana the strength she needs to live without her. And the thing that's so great about this story is it's so short. Mm-hmm. It's the kind of thing that you can inhale in one sitting. Mm-hmm. And like before you know it, you've read the whole thing and been through a million emotions.
Yes.
And it's so... I love kind of this juxtaposition of technology with tradition. It makes for a lot of tension in this story. Mm-hmm. And it's just surprisingly knowing that this woman's character is about to be, no spoilers, but about to enter a new phase of her life without someone that she loves dearly. It's like nodding toward this future, you know, with the technology and everything. And kind of, it's an interesting story. It is full of warmth. It's sad. It's funny, weirdly, in parts, just because of the like specificity, the particularity of the Amazon Alexa thing. And it's just like a knockout of a story in a very small package.
Well, you know, I was all in because anything with mothers and daughters and grief, that is my jam.
Yes. Yes.
So I really appreciated this story as well. A little more about the writer. Stacie Denetsosie's work has appeared in Yellow Medicine Review, Phoebe Magazine, and Cut Bank, among other publications. She is a recipient of the UCross Native American Fellowship and the Prague Summer Program Poetry Fellowship. The Missing Morning Star earned a Kirkus-starred review and was named a 2024 Southwest Book of the Year. Be sure to stick around after the story to hear Stacie in her own words.
Ursa Short Fiction is proud to present Snowbath Season, a short story by Stacie Denetsosie, performed by Nasheen Sleuth. When she left the swirl, stars were no longer peak into heaven, but the gaseous violent things we learned about in astronomy class. And the moment an inkling of light glinted off your eye, it had already traveled light speeds to get there, and would wink out of existence in the very same blink. Daddy and I didn't eat right after our star stopped shining, but the power stayed on, and the bills got paid, and Mama's Alexa kept playing the old country station right at 5:45 like she programmed it to. It's just enough time so when I punch off the clock, I know that right as I walk into the door, the music starts. A year later, Alexa still goes off singing, even if it's just me. In 1814, we took a little trip, along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. Alexa, stop! Johnny Horton doesn't get to finish the Battle of New Orleans tonight because I have to make dinner, and defrosting last season's elk doesn't taste good with a little bacon and a little bean. Tonight, I'm making Daddy some elk stir-fry with a package of meat Mama labeled rump roast in large looping letters that look like little lassos. I unsheathe the roast and drop it into the pan. Once that sucker is good and defrosted, I transfer it over to a frying pan and brown it real good until it's almost dry and falling apart. Then I piece it with 2 forks and add frozen broccoli and carrots, which usually brings some moisture, but with teriyaki sauce, you can make it as juicy as you want anyways. The kitchen smells like fall harvest as the warm, buttery smell of squash cuts the zucchini's bitter green scent. "Can you say that again?" Alexa says. Just as I pour the sauce into gurgling vegetables, I turn around abruptly. What the hell? I look up at the Alexa, a helicopter of blue LED lights spinning on her round interface. For a minute, I'm not sure if the Wi-Fi went out or if it's just the government spying on me. "Sorry, I don't know what went wrong. If you let me know, I can do more research." "Damn you, Alexa," I say, tucking the spatula into the crook of my elbow to get a better look at the damn machine. The blue light stops blinking, and I return to my vegetables. The ice crystals have just melted off the zucchini chunks, and the elk meat swells with new moisture. A high-pitched whine grates across tiny speakers, sounds like a fiddle from hell. I jerk back, my spatula clattering to the floor. I turn to face the screeching Amazon Alexa. The speakers pop distinctly as the sound creeps higher in decibel. A flurry of colors flash across the LED interface. The interface ring pulses cobalt, which bends into a bright lime green. Then the kitchen lights go out. The only light in the room is the Alexa, who sends up a single blue ray up the kitchen wall. "I raise you better than that, Diana," Alexa says. But this time she doesn't sound like herself. Instead, she sounds like my mother. But voice is different. A low-quality speaker scratch that didn't capture every drawn-out vowel. But it's her. I'd know that scolding tone anywhere. What the? I shake my head and sink to the floor, groping for the spatula. What if this is some new Amazon shit where they bring your loved ones back from the dead for a monthly subscription? Indians know better than to mess with the dead. From beneath the stove, I can hear air humming out from the Alexa as if she's overheating. "You're just going to look at me all bug-eyed? Get me down from here," my mother, the Alexa commands. Her voice is turning in clearer now, kind of like how when the Navajo Nation radio station becomes clear just as you pass over the San Jose River. I drop my spatula, lunge for the plug. "Don't you dare! I just want to talk to you." Alexa's voice wavers as if she's holding back tears. "I miss you, Shia." "Mama?" The Alexa's light flashes a rainbow circuit. "Oh, you know it's me. It's me, except for I'm Letsa now." "I thought you died?" "Yeah, I know. I died." Alexa's lights wink out. I smell my burned veggies before I turn around and try and hurry and scrape them off the pan. The bottom layer is a loss, but the upper layer is still edible. I turn off the burner before I turn back around to the Alexa. "Alexa, hello?" "Hi, how may I help you?" Alexa asks. My nervous excitement dissipates all at once. Did I just make this shit up? Did I miss my mama so much I think she's speaking to me through the Alexa? "How can you help me, Alexa? I'm hearing fucking voices," I say sarcastically. "I'm glad you asked. I can help you with morning activities, relaxation, the weather, and more. The weather. Oh, the weather! Diana, it's snowing in the mountains. We need to take our snow bath." "Mom?" I lunge over to the kitchen chair and hop on top of it to retrieve the Alexa. "Yeah? What? Remember, I'm Lexa now." I put the plastic modem onto my chest and hug her. "Oh my God, you need a new bra. I can help you order that. Just say, 'Lexa, order me a new bra.'" "Mom, what the heck?" I say, pulling away the cylinder from my chest. "Sorry," the Alexa sighs. "I miss taking care of you, baby." "I miss it too. Daddy only buys me sports bras from Walmart." Alexa whirs purple. "How is he? Your daddy?" Her tone is apologetic. He's getting along. I think he needs someone, I say. Me too. I checked his phone and his Facebooks. Tell him to ask out that nice lady from the grocery store, the redhead. Okay. A silence extends between us. We need to go soon, Lexa says. You weren't kidding about the mountains? No, she says. We need to do our snow bath. I think of all those first snowfalls. Mama yelling at me to hurry. We stripped down to our chonies, leaving behind socks and sweatpants before we reached the back door. I remember it so clearly, the bite of the snow shocking our stomachs and backs. Mama's puckered stomach stretched with the memory of carrying me, and that silvery line that ran from her collarbone to the center of her chest and disappeared behind her Playtex bra band. That scar was a reminder that even the heart could grow tired of being reminded to beat. I didn't understand at the time why it was fair that my skin clung tight to sinew and bone, unmarked by nothing except goosebumps, and my heart thudded evenly, without a murmur or a hiccup. Why I was gifted with the life of ease when Mama was living on electric time. I can take us to the canyon. I think there's snow there. But you can't unplug me. Do you have a cigarette lighter? One of those charger things, she asks, flashing orange. Oh yeah, Dad bought me a new CD console. It has a USB port, I say quickly. BUS port? If it charges, it should work. You're going to have to unplug me really fast and then run me to the car. But start the car first. If I get unplugged too long, I die. Again. All right, be back in a second. I run outside. Dusk has fallen upon the mountains in my backyard. The trees look like black lace against purple satin. Above the trees, stars wink absently. I start my old Pontiac Grand Am, and she starts up with a shudder that builds into a steady growl. Once the car starts, I run back inside to retrieve my mother. I gather up all her cords. Are you ready to be unplugged? I ask. Hurry, okay? Lexa says nervously. I pull the USB from the power box. Lexa blinks unevenly. I scramble down the stairs and out the back door of the house to the open arms of the Grand Am. Just one more second, Mom. I land my knees first on the velour seats, steering the USB cord into the port. Plugged in. I swing my knees beneath me, so I sit seated. Ma, you there? Ma. I seem to have disconnected from Wi-Fi. To reconnect, download the Alexa app. A yellow halo loops on Lexa's head, whirring her back to life. Whoa! That shit fucks you up, Lexa says suddenly. Mama, I say, covering my mouth. What? It doesn't feel good. Feels like dying all over again. But now I'm all back, so don't worry, baby, she says. Is Smithfield Canyon all right? I ask. If there's snow there, that's where we need to go. Lexa blinks green. If my mama was here, I'm sure she'd smile. Lexa, why do we do snow baths? I ask. Good question. Let me look that up for you, Alexa says. A thread on Reddit says that the traditional Navajo belief for snow baths to occur after first or second snow of the season. Navajo elders say that the snow bath will teach endurance. Stop. Who cares what Reddit says? Your grandma used to say it's to make you tougher. You need to toughen up, she used to say. Life is not easy. When I'm gone, you need to teach yourself how to survive without me. I need to know you can survive without me, Lexa says. I imagine my mother sitting beside me, her hands heavy on my lap after her last heart appointment. What even happened? Lexa has all these automated responses. So if you ask me one of those questions, she answers, She tries to take over. She's strong whore, that one. Okay, I'll be careful not to ask those kinds of questions. Taking over Lexa got me really tired. I need to rest. Let me know when we get there, Lexa says. Within 15 minutes, the familiar narrow canyon road stretches out before me. My dull yellow headlights reflect off the snow that drifts across my windshield. My daddy calls these kinds of drives hyperspeed on account of he's a huge Star Wars fan. I keep driving the winding road until I reach a gate. Campsite and road close for winter. We've gone as far as we can go, Mama, I say. Lexa blinks a soft orange. This is it, baby. I need you to take both of us for a snow bath. I wanted this for you and me. This is why I came back. After our snow bath, I have to leave and go back. My heart stutters. No, you can't go back. I just got you back. You can't leave me, I say, my voice raising. My eyes feel hot. Baby, I like where I am. Out there. I get to be with my mama and papa. And God knows I miss you. But I need to know you can make it through this life. Please take this snow bath with me. I know we didn't have much words before I left the first time, 'cause I was so weak. But now, this is my one wish. Lexa's light is blue. A tear rolls down my face as I stare at the white plastic console on my seat. Where will you go? I ask. Back to the father sky, and Coyote's stars, and your grandma's stories, and to that spot on the moon, the one I told you with the caterpillar making its home, and the cornfield at dawn when the sun makes all the stalks stand tall. The tears are hot now. I open the Pontiac door to the wind. Snow flurries down, melting as soon as it comes in contact with the heater-warm vinyl. I peel off my shirt first, then my pants. My body shudders in winter air. I remove my shoes, one boot at a time, and unsock my feet, until at last my body is naked of all clothes except for my chonies. My nipples tighten at the winter air. I feel hair prick on my legs as my unclothed body responds to the sound of winter. I gather my mother in my hands, her plastic body small as a hockey puck. I walk out across the empty parking lot to the snow-laden field before me. Snow crystals glint off the newly risen full moon. The whole valley before me pulses a dull blue. I send myself into a nearby snowbank, clutching my mother's round body. She begins to hoot and sing. I feel my nasal passages swell with warmth that freezes upon touching the air and the throb of my soft palate as the fervor of my pitch matches that of my mother, until our voices are inseparable from one another. She sings until the power drains from her body, until, at last, I'm singing alone. I roll my stinging body across the snow, feeling the fresh burn, the chafe of memory, the umbilical cord kind of love, my cold fingertips tightening around the round disk of my mother, my moon, my universe.
Snow bath season is about a mother-daughter relationship after the mother has passed on due to heart complications. While I was writing it, I really wanted to incorporate some of my own mother's voice, and the story stemmed from an incident my mom had with an Amazon Alexa that I gave her. And I guess she was like cooking in the kitchen, and she was talking to my aunt in Navajo on the phone. And the Alexa like lit up, it turned blue, and it was like, I can learn key phrases in your language. And my mom looked at the Alexa and she freaked out. She's like, oh my gosh, it's listening to me. And I thought that was so hilarious that, like, we have this technology that's creeping into our lives, and especially in a setting that you wouldn't think it would. And so I asked myself, like, what if Amazon Alexa was like a Navajo woman? What if she had like a Navajo woman's accent? What would that sound like? And I think of the Amazon Alexa as like very sterile, with that monotone phrasing, like no inflection. And my mother's voice just doesn't like that. English was her second language, and so it still very much has like the flavor of our language in her English. And I really wanted that in the story. So that's how the concept came to me. And then also, I think of my short story collection, The Missing Morning Star, as a grief narratives. Growing up, I experienced a lot of things, a lot of traumatic events. I attended lots of funerals, and there was always things that were like unexplainable that I couldn't find answers to as a young person. And so I wanted to create a way of understanding what happens after death in a story while incorporating like Indigenous futurisms. Like we are present, we are going to be in the future, and yeah, really reclaiming that space and being like, we're here, damn it. So in the story, I also wanted to talk about the significance of the snow bath that we have in my Diné culture, Navajo culture. And it's an annual tradition that we do after, in some families, it's after the first snow. In other families, it's after the second snow. It really depends on like how you were taught. And it involves like basically stripping down to just like your undies and rolling around in snow. And the entire time you are supposed to be praying to the holy people and asking them to give you like strength. And I think it's a really cool tradition because now there's all this research behind ice baths and stuff and centering yourself. So I think that it's a really cool thing that my people have been practicing for since time immemorial. And now it's connected to so much like science. But yeah, so I wanted to incorporate the snow bath into the story and have this element that is traditional, something that is passed down, and then also the juxtaposition of the Amazon Alexa and kind of the future, and see how those two things kind of push up against each other. And out of that, I wanted to create something, I don't know, like new and exciting. Other themes that I tackled is just like when the mother in the story she has to get a pacemaker at a certain point. And I wanted to highlight our dependence on like modern medicine, but also like pacemakers, and in that same way how like Amazon Alexa, these like artificial things that assist our lives are now becoming very important pillars in our lives. Some of them, in fact, even keeping us alive. So I also wanted to incorporate that sort of element into my story to propel the narrative forward. I think one of the most challenging part of writing the story, and this is why I submitted it to Ursa, is the fact that it's so verbal. Like the Amazon Alexa is speaking a lot to the main character, and the main character is speaking back to her. And it was the first time I was writing something that was so dialogue heavy, and the dialogue was driving the narrative. It was difficult for me to envision how that would look on the page because I was hearing it mostly like auditorily. So it was really exciting when like Ursa like selected my piece to go to the podcast, because that's how I envisioned it, is two individuals having a conversation, and also the voices were so distinct, especially with the Navajo mother and her accent, and then just the clean accent of the Amazon Alexa. That was probably the most challenging part. And in some of the revisions, I was told by mentors like, hey, you should include more like setting or more atmosphere. And I was just like, yes, but also I want to hear this story and I want to see how it propels forward. So that was a really cool exercise in dialogue. And I read a lot of screenplays for it. so that I could get a sense of how to propel the story without going into character interiority too much. Like everything had to be said and seen in that way. What I learned about writing this story about myself and the world and my writing process was that my stories, especially in the short story collection, my short story collection, I'm going to say Morning Star, that like a lot of my narratives are women-centered. Like I really want to highlight especially Indigenous women. A lot of times our stories are unheard and we are the voices that are silenced. Like people expect us to be in the background, but we have very vibrant stories, even if they aren't flashy stories. I've had some folks come up to me and be like, your stories are very slice of life, very common day. And I'm like, yes, because there is excitement and beauty in the mundane. And I feel like that's where a lot of my characters thrive and that's where they function. And I want my readers to read my stories and stories like Snowbath Season and understand that my characters are carrying on even after they're done reading the stories and they're still existing in the other outside world. And that's kind of my idea of a successful story, is that the characters are still living their daily lives even after the story is done. And writing process wise, what I learned was that it's okay to be experimental. I wrote this during my MFA program at the Institute of American Indian Arts, and I was really nervous because I had come from a more strict writing background where it was very much like literary fiction, just strict literary fiction, like where no science fiction, like no speculative. It was very like cut and dry. And so when I wrote it, I felt like, oh no, like I'm going to get in trouble. Like teacher is going to wrap my fingers, because that's what would have happened in my last program, is I would have gone in trouble and they'd be like, what is this? But it was so cool to take it. And my mentor for the workshop was Kelly Jo Ford, and she wrote Crooked Hallelujah. And she was so helpful in helping shape the story and giving it early praise, because I really needed that, because I was like, I don't know what I just brought. It's really scary. And she really encouraged me to stay in that very dialogue heavy story and trust myself as a writer. That was one thing that this story definitely taught me, is that I can trust my tastes and they're established and I don't really need to subscribe to Western canon, because I think I was very much like, you have to write in a box. And IA really cracked that open for me. Kelly did as well. And this story was really the foray into writing more stories where I felt like I could be free and expressive. People expect a certain thing when you read Native American literature. They want to see common tropes like noble savage and whatnot. And writing any type of story that I write, they just happen to be Native stories because I'm a Native person, but realizing there's so much more to resist while writing. So I also like to think of any of my stories as my formal act of resistance. And every time the stories are read, it like reenacts that, and the person gets a sense of that, to show like, hey settlers, I'm still here, my people are still here, we're going to be here in the future, so you better deal with it. Some really good advice that I've gotten from other writers that I think others should know. One of them is an old piece of, I don't know, it's part of a poem that I have above my desk. And it's a snippet from the Joy Harjo poem. And it says, I release you, my beautiful and terrible fear, I release you. And whenever I come to the writing desk, I think I come with a lot of fear and anxiety and trepidation. And when I read that, and when I think about like Joy Harjo as an artist and just everything that she's overcome, it's inspiring. And it also reminds me that you can release fear, you can let it go, and just get into the writing practice. A new piece of advice that I got yesterday was from a presentation from the author of Women of Light, Colley Fajardo-Anstein. And she said this quote was from Julia Alvarez, but she said, "You will teach them how to read your books by writing more books." And the context in which she said that was that she felt like her book had to be like the be-all end-all of like Indigenous Mexican writing. And she was so nervous, and she was talking to her mentor, and her mentor was like, "You'll teach your audience how to read your books by writing more books," and just informing, I guess, readers of your culture and your traditions and stuff. And I feel like that's a really big responsibility. But as writers, our careers can be really long, hopefully. And I'm hoping that if there are things that I didn't teach or share in this book, that in my future books, I can kind of teach my future readers how to read my work. And I think that's a really cool legacy to have as a writer.
Snowbath Season is written by Stacie Denetsosie and performed by Nasheen Sleuth. Associate producers are Marina, Leigh, and Ashawnta Jackson. Special thanks to Cleyvis Natera. Ursa executive producers are Dawnie Walton, Deesha Philyaw, and Mark Armstrong. To support our work, become an Ursa member by going to ursastory.com/join. You'll help us fund more episodes and stories from some of today's most thrilling writers. Thanks for listening.